A goddess returns. The ancient Aeldari had once tasted glory, but now this dying race has been unified by the words spoken from Yvraine, preaching that all Aeldari paths lead to one goal, the death of Slaanesh. She has rallied forth the Exodites, the Harlequins, the Asuryani, and even Vect and his Drukhari to this cause. But before the chaos god of lust and perfection can be destroyed, they need to prepare. Wraithbone constructs were created in mass and outfitted with every spirit stone in their possession, from every craft world. The Exodites brought forth hordes of their dinosaur-like mounts, while the Drukhari emptied their colosseums and pain pits of warriors and slaves. And finally, the avatars of Cain, Ennead, and Segura were awoken to march into battle once again. A key part of Yvraine's plan was to attain the 5 fingers of Morai Hag, aka the Crone Swords. 4 were already in their possession, but to retrieve the 5th, they had to enter Slaanesh's palace first. As such, the unified Aeldari army had chosen its generals. The Vizarch, wielder of the Sword of Silent Screams, which absorbs its foe's life essence. Yvraine, wielder of the Sword of Sorrows, that burns its victims to ash. The Incarn, which wields the Sword of Souls, the largest blade that is capable of shape-shifting. Prince Yariel, wielder of the Spear of Twilight, that uses its own wielder's soul to slay its enemies. And the last general, Hasubel Vect, which boasts that he has a secret weapon far superior to any Crone sword. With the groundwork laid out, only one more piece of the puzzle was needed before they would slay Slaanesh, and that is the retrieval of their goddess of life, Isha. They entered into Nurgle's domain through the use of their webway, and due to the Chaos God's assault on Terra, his defenses were weakened. The trek through Nurgle's garden was costly, but they paved their way via psychic onslaught, and before long, they had found their goddess. Blocking their way stood 7 greater demons of Nurgle, each one more ugly and rotting than the last. At this point, Vect had had enough of sullying his own blades in the filth of Nurgle's desidents. It was time to unsheath his secret weapon. He called forth Urien Rakoth, which gave Vect a runic tetrahedron, and upon placing it on the plague-ridden ground, a dark gate manifested. A wheezing giant of a man shambled out. Grunting in agony, this flayed warrior ripped off its chains and knelt before Vect. "Give the Khan his sword. Now, attack." The broken, skinless Primarch of the White Scars had been tortured for thousands of years. The pain, both physical and psychological, had conditioned Jagtai to become Vect's lapdog, a weapon that truly did rival the Crone swords. As the Primarch rampaged on, and the Aeldari army began to gain ground, Yvraine and the Vizarch retrieved Isha, and they began their retreat into the webway. To cover their escape, the craft worlds of Baal Tan and Dor High crashed with one another, creating a massive explosion, wiping out a vast expanse of Nurgle's garden. The Aeldari had suffered greatly, but no cost was too great, for their goddess Isha is once again freed from Chaos's grasp. However, Yvraine can't help but think that this was too easy, and perhaps they played right into Nurgle's plan. But she had no time to dwell upon it, for now they must ready themselves to slay she who thirsts. Little did the Aeldari know that the time of the Rana Dandra drew near. What is up, guys? This is the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and welcome back to my continuation on Warhammer 40K, a fan fiction-y theory video that I've got going on that gives a interpretation of what Warhammer 40K will end like and what Warhammer 50K will be like. So if you guys haven't checked out The Death of Warhammer 40K, go ahead and check that out first, because I give small inklings into every faction as to how they're ending 40K and what they will become in 50K. And after that, I talk about the Imperium in another video, and then in this one, obviously, I've talked about the Aeldari. So I've got a playlist going, videos will be linked at the end, so check all that out. But to continue on with this, to give you just a little bit more explanation, the Aeldari have had enough. They've been a dying race for a long time, and with the creation of the god of rebirth, Iniad, the Inari with Yvraine have managed to rally all the Eldar in the galaxy to their cause. The Harlequins, the Exodites, even the Dark Eldar have all agreed to reclaim their place in the galaxy once again. And sensing that chaos has basically created their death parade towards the Imperium to try and get the Emperor's corpse, they've noticed that the warp has emptied itself of most of its demonic descendants. So there's no better time than now to go ahead and save Isha from the grasp of Nurgle, and with two chaos gods, or with two of their own gods, Segura and Isha, on their side, they think they have the power to go and slay Slaanesh, the reason for their downfall. Now, as they begin to go inside the webway and go to save Isha from the Gardens of Nurgle, Vect has a very interesting prisoner in one of his dark gates, and that is none other than the Primarch of the White Scars, Jagdai Khan. So we know that Khan had a grudge with the Dark Eldar since they were attacking his recruitment world of Chagoris, I believe. And the last time we saw the Khan, he went into the webway chasing after the Drukhari. And this is what happened to him. He got captured, he got put into the Colosseum, he was flayed, he was tortured both physically and mentally to the point where it broke him. And he essentially became the lapdog of Asubel Vect. And it's crazy to see, but I think it'd be really cool if we get a model of this flayed Primarch. Just imagine like the hulking figure of Jagdai Khan wielding his, I believe it's called like his white tiger sword or something like that. That'd be really cool, really grimdark, to see this awesome warrior be basically reduced to a slave. So yeah, that was a little surprise that I wanted to put in here, but they ended up rescuing Isha, and that gives the Eldar a little glimpse of hope. But just like the Harlequins' play, just like their end time apocalyptic lore, the Ranadandra, basically what that means is that Slaanesh and the Eldar are going to wipe themselves out. But apparently somehow Slaanesh is going to mess up, and she's going to be the catalyst for the revival of the Eldar race. What that means is up for interpretation, but I'm going to give it my own spin and cover it once we actually get into Warhammer 40K. Because everything that I talked about now happens before the epic battle on Terra, because the spark, or the actual start of Warhammer 50K, is when the Emperor achieves apotheosis. So when the Eldar go into Nurgle's Gardens, this happens after the Emperor's death. And the Emperor died, and for 665 days, that was the time span, essentially the death of 40K. And on the 666th day, that's when 50K starts. That's where the Emperor achieves his apotheosis and becomes a god, and the Army of the Light is now a thing in the Imperium. So once that happens, 50k starts, and once 50k starts, that's when the Aeldari are gonna go into the Rana Dandra end time scenario for their race. It's gonna be interesting because I got a lot of ideas floating around. So that's where I'm gonna end the video. Let me know your thoughts for this essentially fan fiction that I'm making for Warhammer 40k, the end times. And yeah, can't wait to see your questions, comments, remarks, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for listening. This has been the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I'll catch you then. Peace.